Okay, great. All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Understanding Solar Energy webinar. My name is Emily Cormier. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator at the City of Sault Ste. Marie. Before we begin, I acknowledge with respect, though we are gathered virtually, that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory. The land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the Métis Nation of Ontario. I also acknowledge that this area is historically known as Bowating. The city recognizes the importance of our relationship with the Indigenous community as we move forward in the spirit of reconciliation. Now, I believe we can begin in a good way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Great. All right, Christy, can you unmute yourself and let me know if you can see my screen?
I can see it, but I see it where I can see your next slide as well.
Uh-oh, okay, that's not good. So let me hide presenter view. How's that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. All right, so again, welcome everyone for our Understanding Solar Energy webinar. This is a joint venture between the City of Sault Ste. Marie and Garden River First Nation, specifically Christy Sayers. Christy, I don't know if you want to say a few words. I know you'll be one of our first panelists, but is there anything you'd like to say as we get going here?
I just want to say welcome everyone and thanks for joining this webinar. I love that Garden River and Sault Ste. Marie can join together when it comes to planning similar projects.
Awesome. The feeling is mutual. Thanks, Christy. So we've got a pretty packed agenda in this 1 hour this afternoon. So we've started off with our introduction. Our first speaker is actually going to be Christy Sayers, Energy Advisor at Garden River First Nation. She will be talking about the Garden River Indigenous Community Energy Plan, as well as some of their solar projects that they've had underway in the past and that are currently planned. Our second speaker will be Brent Ruble from haleian. He is their Business Improvement and Innovation Lead. He'll be talking about some solar market opportunities. Our third speaker is Mark Britton, Supervisor, Energy Conservation and Demand Management at the PUC, who will be talking about solar considerations and setup. Our next speaker will then be Kevin Halford and Steve Cormier from Algoma Energy Solutions. And our last speaker will be Kieran O'Neill, a registered energy auditor locally, who'll be talking about the solar energy value proposition and some funding opportunities. This is going to be a very fast-paced event, so I would like to just go over a couple of housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see a Q&A function. If you have any questions, please put your questions into that as opposed to the chat so that we can keep track of those as we're going through the webinar. After each presenter, depending on time, we'll have some time for a couple of quick questions, and we'll save some time at the end of this presentation for some questions that maybe have been accumulated overall. So without further ado, I am going to now pass this over to Christy, our first speaker, to talk about what Garden River has been up to when it comes to their Indigenous Community Energy Plan, as well as their solar projects. Christy, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Emily. Can you guys see my screen good?
Yes.
All right. So right now we have the solar microfit rooftops in Garden River. That's on 10 buildings at the moment. And then we're waiting on our 11th building to do, which we're in the process of right now, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The way we got started with everything was through our ISEP program, which is the Indigenous Community Energy Plan. The IESO's ISEP program is an annual proposal-based program that assists First Nation communities in developing a community energy plan or to update an existing community energy plan. Since 2014, Garden River has been updating the ISEP plan and has successfully been reducing our carbon footprint. Garden River's accomplishments in lowering energy consumption. So our solar panels installed on 10 band-owned buildings. We have a waste transfer station, recycling and share shed to reduce reusable items from going into our landfill. We have the small business lighting program that we completed on all of our small businesses here in Garden River. And what that included was upgrades to lighting fixtures and the bulbs inside. Residents have been involved in most of the energy related programs, such as the Ontario Electricity Support Program, the Energy Affordability Program, Home Weatherization, and the Low Income Energy Assistance Program. Adding solar to our last band-owned building in Garden River at Ojibwe Park is what we're in the process of right now. So the solar rooftop installation. In 2011, Economic Resource and Community Development Department worked with consulting firm Solar Logics for solar rooftop installations. 10 20-year contracts were secured with the Ontario Power Authority, and it was responsible for implementing the microfit program when it began in 2009. However, the OPA was merged with the ISO in 2015. So 10 systems were completed and installed by November 2013 at 54 cents a kilowatt. One system installed under the FIT program in 2012, which was at 80 cents. Tia, did you want to continue with these ones?
Yeah, I can take over. So the solar buildings in Garden River are the Child Care Center, Community Center, Bingo Hall, Lands and Resources, Trust Operations, Education and Recreation Center, Silver Creek Golf Course, Public Works, 5 Bay Garage, Dan Pine Healing Lodge, the Administrative Band Office, and the Wellness Center. This is the Ojibwe Park Solar PV project. So Ojibwe Park experiences a large jump in energy usage during summer months due to the nature of the current operations as a tent and trailer park. It is the third highest energy consumer in Garden River, but is only in operation seasonally. Ojibwe Park is the last band-owned building to receive solar PV panels due to previous costs and upgrades needed to the park's facilities. Funding has been approved in December 2021 to complete a feasibility study and energy audit, along with the scope of work to design, procure, install, and monitor solar technology. Completion of this project is the end of January 2024. So possibilities for upcoming energy projects for Garden River First Nation. We plan to update street lighting to LED lights, composting, community garden upgrades, Sioux College skills training in renewable energy sector, water and wastewater treatment, renewable energy installation, both certified training programs, and in-depth energy audits on all band-owned buildings. And if you want any more information, please feel free to contact Christy Sayers or myself. Our emails are listed along with our phone numbers. Thank you.
Thanks, Tia. Thanks, Christy. I'm sorry, Tia, I forgot to introduce you earlier on. Do you want to just say a few words about what you do at Garden River?
Sure. So my name is Tia Jones, and I'm the Assistant Energy and Special Projects Coordinator within the ERCD department in Garden River.
Thanks, Tia, and thanks, Christy. Lots going on at Garden River First Nation. We really appreciate learning about that. If anyone has any questions, please put them into the Q&A function. You can also raise your hand and we'd be happy to unmute you. We'll give a few minutes for that, or a few seconds rather, and then we will jump into our next speaker. If you don't have any questions right now, you can always put them into the Q&A later on. Okay, seeing none, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Brent Ruble from haleian. He is their Business Improvement and Innovation Lead. Brent, take it away.
Hi. Hey guys. Thanks for that. There's a lot of great stuff going on in Garden River there. It's pretty exciting. So can you see my PowerPoint there?
We can. We can also see your notes as well. So
okay.
I don't know if you want to put it into
I just
preview.
want to make sure sound shares on.
Yes.
Okay. How about that?
You're good to go, Brent.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So hi, everybody. As was mentioned, my name is Brent Ruble. I'm the Innovation Lead at haleian, a North American manufacturer of solar modules. And I'm here to present a presentation that was done by the CEO of the company just a few days ago, actually. So haleian started manufacturing back in Sault Ste. Marie in 2010 under the leadership of CEO Martin Postruk and Dennis Turcott. We have grown rapidly since then. Today, we expect a revenue of over $250 million in the US for 2022. We're getting into a seller's market now, which is something we haven't seen for a few years, which is very nice. And what you'll see throughout this presentation is where we are as a company and what we do, both in Canada and the US. So since starting operations in Ontario, we've actually expanded into Minnesota in 2017 and into Florida in 2021. I don't think I really need to convince anyone that solar is positioned for explosive growth in the coming few years. We'd like to see the US Congress implement what is included in the formerly known Build Back Better Act, and we're anticipating seeing any reincarnations of the legislation coming back to Congress, hopefully later this year. Our manufacturing capacity today, as of May 20th, 2022, is at 500 megawatts. However, we have been building a 400 megawatt expansion of our Minnesota factory since September of last year. We will soon be at the capacity of 900 megawatts or so come August of this year, when we're planning to add yet another manufacturing line to reach another 900 megawatts come online August of this year. And then we're planning to add yet another manufacturing line to reach 1.3 gigawatts by mid 2023. Our core business is solar PV modules for the standard application. While we have and have had a focus on diversifying and finding integrations of solar applications in other industries. I'll mention some of those later on in the presentation though. So we have 3 locations, as I mentioned before, in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Mountain Iron in Minnesota, and Riviera Beach in Florida. Our Riviera Beach, Florida location manufactures heterojunction solar modules, which are solar modules that are better looking compared to PERC modules, the standard ones, and they produce higher yield over the same period of time. Right now, after the closing of LG, haleian is the only manufacturer of heterojunction solar modules in the US. So that's pretty exciting. So I'll invite you now to see and walk through our Minnesota manufacturing facility, the one line that has been operating since 2017. So this is a little video, I think it's about 6 minutes. I'm gonna try to keep the rest of the presentation short.
Welcome to haleian's manufacturing facility in Mountain Iron, Minnesota. We are proud to say we have been producing solar modules at this location since 2017. We employ over 75 full-time workers who help ensure that our solar modules are manufactured with the highest quality in mind. Every haleian module that comes out of this facility is guaranteed to produce clean power for over 30 years. We invite you to come and take a look at what makes haleian solar modules stand out in the world of green energy. The foundation of solar modules are their surface. We begin our process with a sheet of tempered low iron anti-reflective glass. Onto the glass, we add a sheet of encapsulant which seals the solar module during the lamination process. The stringer is the heart of our operation, where individual solar cells are inspected for the highest quality and then interconnected by an infrared soldering process to create a string of cells. The string of cells are then placed on the glass and encapsulated in a matrix dependent on the size of the module. The module then travels to the Autobus station, where the string of cells are connected to form a single electrical circuit. After autobusing, another layer of encapsulant is added along with the insulating backsheet to form the solar module. Prior to lamination, electroluminescence and visual inspection tests are performed, which guarantee the solar module's quality. During the lamination process, vacuum pressure and heat is applied to ensure the cross-linking of the encapsulants. This step seals all the components of the solar module. After the lamination process, each solar module is visually inspected under illumination to ensure it meets our quality standards. After the visual inspection, modules are moved to a framing station where operators carefully adhere anodized aluminum frames. These frames contain silicone and corner clips, which are pressed together to secure the frame of the solar module, making sure they are ready to go out into the field and face the elements. Finally, every solar module is run through a series of meticulous tests that guarantees they pass all of haleian's electrical and quality standards. 100% of our solar modules are tested using methods that include high-pot, flash test, and electroluminescence. Haleian solar modules are then pelletized and shipped off to destinations across the United States, ready to produce green energy right out of the box. Thank you for taking the virtual tour of our manufacturing plant in Mountain Iron, Minnesota. We hope we can help bring your solar projects to fruition. For more information, visit haleian.com.
All right, thanks everybody for watching. I always think it's pretty neat to see all the robots and people doing their thing, making solar modules. So we're very proud of this plant, and the local community and government has been incredibly supportive of our work and growth here in Minnesota. So roughly 70% of our modules that we make go into utility scale applications, and about 30% of the modules go into small commercial or residential applications. If you take a look at our typical clients at the bottom of the slide, most of these clients have worked with us since 2013. Most of our clients are reoccurring clients that we've had for many years now. So here's an overview of our product roadmap. There's a lot of information here, but it illustrates what modules are used for residential, commercial, and industrial applications and more. And so to get into a bit of the details here, in 2021, we started making the half cell modules. So that's the 144 M6 and 144 M10 modules, both 530 and 540 watts, which we say is our bread and butter product. For commercial and industrial applications, we've evolved from the 72 cell G1 modules to the 120 half cell M10 modules. So later this year, we're going to be adding to our existing 66 cell heterojunction product, which will be 132 half cell M6 in the 400 to 420 watt range. This year, we're also phasing out our 60 cell and 72 cell G1 modules to be replaced by the 120 M6 PERC module. Later on this year, we're going to introduce the 108 half cell M10. So there's lots going on. Moving forward, we're focusing on the PERC products on an M10 cell size, which will replace the G1 and M6 cells. We anticipate that this product will reach end of life in about Q2 of 2023. For that reason, we're bringing in all products concentrating on the M10 cell size. For the heterojunction, it's the same. We're moving into the M6 product this year and anticipate that we'll have the M10 heterojunction module ready in a year from now in 2023. So here's a representation of our M10 PERC products. If you feel so inclined, you could take a screenshot of that. And I have another one here, slide showing our heterojunction module offerings. So you can see just the different types we have here. So why would a customer choose to work with haleian? Well, in short, our competitive advantage has been our adaptability to change and shorter lead times due to our North American locations. We also partner collaboratively with our clients, making our supply predictable and flexible. And we also offer American Canadian made products, so that helps. When we look at the integration of solar technologies, not too many people know that haleian actually developed solar modules that have powered SpaceX's low altitude Starlink program back in 2019. Super cool. We're looking into AC modules for smart home applications, which is under certification right now, as well as solar canopies for electric vehicle charging, just to name a few. One exciting new product I'd like to highlight in particular is our greenhouse integrated PV module, which is GIPV, which replaces glass panels for greenhouses. This product provides double use of land for power production as well as crop growth. So what you'll see now is a pilot project we worked on in 2020, so you have an idea of what the project looks like. Just one more quick video, so I'll show it to this one. Thanks for watching this one too, everybody. So we're pretty excited about that greenhouse PV module, and we're really excited to be working on version 2 of it, actually. So last slide. With ongoing investment in R&D, we remain focused on innovating our solar module technology for emerging and high growth industries. We're actively diversifying our product offerings, and we look forward to meeting the shifting market needs of tomorrow. So thank you very much for your time and for having me here today. That's it for me.
Thanks, Brent. Really appreciate that. Really neat to see some of your products and kind of drill down in how the panels are made. Quite fascinating. A good part of this conversation when it comes to understanding solar. So we have a couple of questions actually. So we'll see if we can answer some of them. I think the first question actually was answered already, but perhaps you can elaborate. I'm not sure.
I can just address the first one again here.
Yep.
So if you need panels locally, just shoot me a message or something. We technically don't really sell small volumes of modules to anybody because we're a manufacturing company. So we do have minimum order quantities, but if you really need something, you could talk to me or you could talk to Steve, who's another one of our panelists coming on soon. And so again, the second one is pretty similar. Since we are a manufacturing company, it is best to work with a dealer. Most of our customers and the people we sell to are distributors and installers and things like that, because we're a manufacturer again, and that's just how we focus on manufacturing the actual product rather than selling by the house or so. But thanks for the questions.
Thanks, Brent. Any other questions for Brent before we move on to our next panelist? Feel free to put them into the Q&A, or if you want, you can raise your hand and we'll see if we can unmute you. Hopefully it works.
Thank you.
Oh, I think there's one more.
There's one that'll be on this webinar fairly soon. So you'll have to stay tuned for that. It won't ruin the surprise for you. But honestly, what I've been telling people, if you have a dealer, contact the dealer, tell them you want to buy haleian modules because they're better quality than anything else really, and start bugging them, and then they'll come to us and buy them. So if there's demand there, eventually there will be supply. So I'd say keep hounding your dealers.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm not seeing any more questions. So we've had just to kind of recap here, we've had an overview on what a local or a neighboring community is doing, Garden River First Nation, and lowering their energy use and their carbon footprint by incorporating solar panels into their band buildings. We now have an understanding of, how do we create solar panels, some of the benefits of them. And now we're going to bring this back to a little bit more local understanding. Our next speaker is Mark Britton, Supervisor of Energy Conservation and Demand Management at the PUC, and he will talk to us a little bit of solar considerations and setup. Mark, over to you.
All right, thank you, Emily. I will share my screen. Everyone can see that okay?
Yep.
So yes, as Emily said, my name is Mark Britton. I am Supervisor of Conservation Demand Management at PUC. I also do some business development work also. And I'm happy to present here to kind of give a background on, involving your local utility on, setting up a connection. So the first slide, or first talking point, from our standpoint, obviously we believe in a sustainable future. We want to support customers, not only in our day-to-day business, but out in the community also in, bringing real change to climate change. And then obviously supporting our customers and then helping them transition with any of the products or things that they would like to do in the future. Obviously, we're here to talk specifically about solar, and we will get into how we're involved in that whole solar connection process. So first and foremost, first question is how do I connect my solar? That's typically, we would see 90–95% of the calls that would come in related to solar is just simply how do we connect? What do we do? Obviously, our first comment is always just contact PUC. We have an engineering staff that can help customers and a customer service staff that can help answer questions. So there is a lot of information that we could pass along. Once, obviously, there's initial consultation, you know, the plan or the idea or the concept that you have for what you would like to do in the solar installation is there. We do have forms. Essentially, this is called the net metering form. This will bring you to a point where we start to look at all the things that are involved in making that connection of your solar to the grid, any of the changes that we have to make in behind the scene. And that the application form is just essentially document to say, you know, here's the type of panels, here's the inverter specs, you know, a lot of those specs and information, contacts, you know, who you're using for an installer or in a supplier, and then obviously the customer contact. And, you know, if in the case of a rental or anything other, it's, you know, having the right permission in place that that we can move forward with that. And obviously we would work with you in this document, completing the document to ensure that it's done to what we need to then move forward with it. So once we get to that point, and then you obviously decide, yes, I'd like to move forward, you know, what do we do next? So what is next? How are your services changed? They're not really changed. It's more of what we talk about for the meter that's on your house. So we do take the current smart meter off and put essentially the same smart meter, but it's bi-directional. And this allows for a net metering service so that it can count the energy out and the energy in, and then make sure that you're billed fairly on that. Obviously, beside that meter, we do a utility disconnect. So that utility disconnect obviously is for safety. If there's a power outage or a line down in the area and crews need to go out and service a line, they do have awareness of where the solar installation is. They can turn it off or island the home, put a disc to lockout tag out on it. And then that way they're safe to go and work and fix what's the problem or the outage. And then once that's done, that they can come back and, you know, connect you back to the grid. From a billing standpoint, you will be moved off of time of use, so that's your mid-peak and off-peak times. So that will be changed to the regulated price plan. So that is the tiered plan that you see now that's available. You can either switch to a time of use or a tiered plan now. And so that you were switched to the tiered plan because your bill will change to a basic connection charge, and then obviously you will be billed or credited on the volumetric use of energy. So obviously if you produce more than you use, you will get a credit. If you use a bit more than say you produce, then you'll be charged for that difference of what you put back compared to what you use. And that's essentially the two big changes to your services in your home, or how you would connect your solar to your home itself. So I will keep it short. That is essentially it. Really is we try and make this as simple as possible. We try and make it as painless as possible. Obviously, there's a lot more conversation when you're discussing it, setting it up with the staff at the PUC, you know, to make sure that all the information is there. We're working safely, and we can get it done as efficiently as possible.
Thanks, Mark. Much appreciated. Okay, so we're just going to go to the questions here. Okay, so I think there's a question that actually is for Christy. So sit tight, Mark. Our first question, Christy, can you speak to that one?
Yeah, so what is the tendering process for projects for the First Nations is the question. Usually with that, we do send out usually like a request for service. And usually we try to send out, obviously, depending on what the project is for, we try to send it out to First Nation companies first, and then we tend to put it out to everyone. But usually what we can do is we accept any type of tendering policy from anyone, just to make sure that we get enough quotes. Usually for any type of funding that we get, we usually have to receive 3 quotes on any job that needs to get completed. So that's usually, if anyone's looking, we will actually be sending out a request for service for the Ojibwe Park one soon as well.
Thanks, Christy. Similar question for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Yes, we follow a public tendering process for any purchased goods or services. Okay, so question here, I think this one might be for Mark. Maybe I misunderstood, but is our installation not required to detect a power outage to disconnect itself automatically? If you can't answer that, Mark, we can always circle back to it at another time.
Yeah, from so the smart meters themselves won't automatically disconnect every time. It's usually based on size. So the larger customers have more advanced systems, but for the residential type customer, there is meters out there, yes, that'll automatically disconnect in those instances. I do not believe we are using them, but the lockout tagout or the customer disconnect box beside it is there for extra security, so that our staff, our line crew, are still able to go out and island the home, so that there is no chance of issue.
Great, thanks, Mark. Another question here for you. I'm assuming if outside of PUC area, you would contact your local distribution company?
Yes, yeah. The rules, a lot of the rules are province-wide. They're managed through the Ontario Energy Board. So a lot of those rules are very similar. How you go about that is typically different within every different LDC. So some of them have online forms on the website, and some of them just want you to call. This essentially.
Great. So rule of thumb would be to
just call.
Contact your utility. Whomever you
Yes.
pay your hydro bill to, give them a call. Great.
Yep.
Okay. One more question, Mark. Why do you need to move away from time of use rates for net metering?
So time of use rates are based off of volumetric use. So it's however much you use is what you're charged on. So all the basic charges, all the roll-up charges for delivery, transmission, and all that stuff is actually built into the time of use rate. Whereas net metering, there is always a connection charge that has to happen. So as long as you're connected to the grid, there's always a base charge for that. So net metering moves to that base charge and then has a volumetric charge on how much you use, or how much you use or you're putting back into the grid. And then that's all that you're, that's how you're paid back, or that's how you pay. It's just based off of volume.
Great.
If that answers, hopefully that answers.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so we are at time for Mark. So if anyone has any more questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. We're going to move on to our next speakers now. Thank you, Mark, by the way. We'll now hear from Algoma Energy Solutions. We have Steve Cormier and Kevin Halford today, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about Solar 101. So how does it work? Net metering, working with your utility, etc. So I will ask Kevin and Steve to take off, turn your camera on. Okay, there you are. And to unmute yourselves and go to town.
How are you today? Sorry about our slideshow. It's broken right now, so we can't really show you much, but I'll start off by saying what Algoma Energy is all about. I own the business for 30 years now, before solar was anything. And we've been building it over time with Kevin, part of the group for the last 15 years now, I think it was.
Oh, 17.
17 years. We did a lot of off-grid, as Kevin will explain. We did a lot of, we were part of Lee's Bay Road job with 23 megawatt job there. And we were part of the Black Dirt Road job, which is a 30 megawatt job, and ongoing to all over Ontario. So we did up to 700 megawatt of solar at this point. We are in Nova Scotia, we are in Alberta, And we are in Sault Ste. Marie with off-grid. And net metering, yes. Signs, we do signs. We do lighting of any kind. We've
Travel trailers.
We're on grid right now. Our business at Old Gooley Bay Road is totally off grid in the form of the business in the offices and everything, air conditioning and that. So we've been around doing it for quite a while. Kevin can continue on with saying the off grid stuff and the.
Sure, I'll tell you a little bit about solar. Thank you everyone for attending the solar webinar and your interest in solar. So I will kind of go through both the off-grid and the grid-tied net metering systems for you. First off, I'll do Solar 101, how solar works. So the sun shines on your solar panels. It sends the energy down to I'll go with an off-grid system right now. It sends your energy to a charge controller that protects your batteries, and then from the charge controller it goes to your batteries, and then from your batteries into your inverter, and then from your inverter into your home panel box. So the inverter converts your DC energy that your solar panels produce. Again, your batteries are all of the energy that is stored in your batteries is DC energy. It goes into it goes through your inverter and converts it to your AC 120, 240, and you're supplying your own power. So I'll first off, I'll start with net metering, since we work with with the people and that with doing the net metering. When you contact me, what we normally start off with is I like to see your power bills. Normally I would ask for a year's worth of your power bills. And then I go about designing a net metering system that meets your needs, and we try to match the net metering system to the amount of kilowatt hours that you are using. And in this way, we try to I shouldn't say zero out, because yes, there is the PUC does do a service charge. So once I get those once I get your energy bills, we also I will provide a quote. I'll provide a quote for you. And then we would get together, or we would discuss it over the phone. And then from there, actually what I do is a complete system for you. I will fill out your PUC application with all your information. I will submit that to the PUC. We also do your structural engineering, because if you're going to be putting solar panels on your roof, of course, to get a building permit, the city wants to make sure that your roof can handle the weight of the solar array that we be putting on your roof. And then we do all your ESA permits, everything. We do the complete install. And we turn the system on for you, and depending on we also are able to monitor some people's systems depending on what products they use. That's pretty much the net metering process for us. I'll kind of give you a short little blurb on the off-grid too. So if you have a cottage, a cabin, whatever, and you're looking to add power, normally what I would ask is, what loads do you want to run? You know, fridge, TV, maybe just some lights. And then I go about sizing a system for you, and again, providing a quote, and then go from there. Well, we're a complete solar company. We design, we install, and we sell all solar products. That's pretty much just a short information session on both the net metering and the off-grid systems. Of course, if anybody has any questions or anything, you know, you could always give me a call here at the office, and ask for me, and I will try to answer any questions that you do have, and yeah, I will design a system for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. We really appreciate the insight for that. It's kind of neat to see this whole process, understanding how solar works, how the panels are created, what you have to think about, what the utility will be considering. It's all kind of coming together. I guess now is the time where I'll ask anyone in the audience if they have a question to please put it into the Q&A. But I actually have a question for you guys at Algoma Energy Solutions. Can you speak at all to some of the top questions that you get from customers? Like, you know, you guys are obviously a one-stop shop solution when it comes to, you know, what is it that you need, how to install it, how to get it working, etc. But I guess, like, what are some common questions that you see, you know, from your customers, just to enlighten the audience, if you will?
The main question is people just want to know about solar and what it all entails. So that's basically the first question that any customer is like, you know, not that a lot of customers do come in with a lot of knowledge on solar too, but you know, that's the most common question is how does the solar work, and how will it benefit me?
A lot of people come in and know more sometimes than us, because they do a lot of researching on it. It seems to be the new world, so they want to know everything. So they come in with really complicated questions. And so we have to do our research and talk to our engineers and see where to go with this, because they're just ongoing. And then there's some that just want to get off the grid and don't want to have free electricity, if that's what they call it, and go from there. So there's a really interesting, complicated call-ins for some of the people, and some of the places we go to in the off-grid form of it is way out of nowhere land. These big beautiful houses, and they're like, you know, could you put solar in there? Could you make it work? I want to run my 15 TVs or something. It's like, oh, well, let's slow down a little bit here, kind of thing. So it's really, but it is interesting. I've been doing it for so long that when the biggest panel, when I first opened up this company, was like a 22-watt panel, and now Halean's doing 500s and 450s, and everybody else is doing it. It's crazy out there. So, and even the solar, the 30 megawatt solar farm at Black Dirt Road, or now it's bigger a little bit. Now in Alberta, we're up to 400 megawatt farms. It's just increasing over time, and you know, and they're like, how far do you go with it? And there just seems to be no end of it. So it's kind of really interesting. So that part of it.
Thank you. No, that's really great. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, we're at time for Algoma Energy Solutions. Thank you, gentlemen, for your expertise and your insight. Very appreciated. We will move on to our next speaker, our last speaker, actually. So I'm pleased now to present Kieran O'Neill. He is a registered energy auditor, pardon me, been a long day. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the solar energy value proposition, some funding opportunities, specifically the Canada Greener Homes Grant.
Hello, everyone. How you doing today? So I'm sure a lot of you are kind of excited about the proposition of getting some money for solar outside of the net metering and offsetting your electricity load. First, I want to introduce myself. I'm Kieran O'Neill. I'm a registered energy auditor. I'm from Sault Ste. Marie. I service Algoma. The majority of the audits and the majority of the service that I do is in Sault Ste. Marie and the surrounding area, say 100 kilometers north and 100 kilometers east. But just a little background, I have a master's in renewable energy resource management. So right from school, I was really interested in renewable energy. I actually worked in solar. I worked for Solar Logics. I worked for haleian. So I have a depth and knowledge of solar. I've built my own residential solar arrays on the last 2 houses that I've owned. So I have the depth and knowledge in addition to the auditing side of things. So when I come into a house and I'm trying to get somebody money, I also have that expertise on the solar side of things. So the Greener Homes Grant came out last June. And it's a $2.6 billion program through the federal government. So it's across Canada. The program's meant to go about 7 years. So, we're not even a year into it. So that should be, I would say at least the way it's going right now, it's going to be at least the next 4 to 5 years for sure. It's meant to help up to 700,000 Canadians across the country improve energy efficiency in their homes and reduce their energy bills, which is great. So there's a few conditions to the program. And the most important thing, and some of you probably with camps are all excited about this, but unfortunately, camps don't qualify. It has to be your primary residence. That's the biggest thing. So in essence, in order for you to qualify for this grant, it has to be on your home. So the same address that's on your driver's license, it's the address that you reside in, that you live in full time. So that's the biggest thing. The second thing is that I must, or an energy auditor must perform an energy audit on the home in order to qualify you for the program in advance of the solar being installed. Now, before I come and do the energy audit, it's important that you get some quotes, do some research, and even a connection agreement, just to know that you can connect to the grid. And secondly, that this is an investment that you'd be interested in. Once I perform the energy audit, there's a fee associated with that. You're enrolled in that process. You can back out from the process at any point, but that obviously that fee doesn't come back to you. So the most important part, and probably the part that everybody's interested in, are what are the rebates. So it's $1,000 per kilowatt. So if you install up to $5,000, so that's the limit. So if you install a 5 kilowatt system, you get $5,000 back. It applies to both grid connected and off-grid systems. Now, what I said earlier, it needs to be your primary residence. I don't see many primary residences out there that are off-grid, but surely they do exist. I have seen them. So in that case, off-grid does qualify as well. Also, there's what's called resiliency measures. So if you have batteries as well, you can get up to $1,000 for batteries. Now, the program itself is limited to $5,000. So if you've installed a 5 kilowatt system and you've put in batteries, well, you're only going to get $5,000. You're not going to get $6,000. So that's an important thing to consider as well. It really is a great program. And right now, obviously solar makes more sense in the rural areas than some of the residential areas. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the solar happen. Not to say that it's not happening in Sault Ste. Marie. Obviously, it's no microfit program anymore. But this rebate is a great rebate. it works out to roughly 20 to 40% of the end cost of solar. Now that's depending on what sort of components you buy, and if you include batteries and all the rest of it. So it is quite a discount, and it certainly helps in terms of the payback on a net metering agreement. So that's it from me. I'm sure there's probably questions. I talk and answer questions all day, in addition to doing audits. So feel free to ask questions.
Thanks, Kieran. You did a good job covering
Thank you.
a very comprehensive program.
Thank you.
There's a lot of information out there. So before we go to questions, there's a lot of information that's been shared today. But if anyone has, the interest or the time, I encourage you to visit the City of Sault Ste. Marie's website. We have a listing there of all of the different energy efficiency rebates that are currently available. We also have information on there about the Canada Greener Homes Grant. Solar is just one of many different attributes that this grant can fund. I know today's webinar scope is about solar, but Kieran, on a high level, can you talk to some of the other components that this Greener Homes Grant can fund as well?
So yeah, and actually, forgive me, I didn't say anything about everything else that's included in it. It's massive. So there's a lot that's involved. So I have a flyer in front of me that I give out to my customers, and it's pretty massive. Like the amount of things that are funded through this program extend from attic insulation, exterior wall insulation, foundation, crawl space, air sealing, windows and doors. There's ground source heat pump rebates. There's air source heat pump rebates. Air source heat pumps is probably 70 to 80% of what I see, is because the rebates are quite good for that. And air source heat pumps are a great replacement for electric baseboard or even oil and propane in some of the rural areas. Obviously, solar PV, thermostats, moisture proofing. There's lots that's involved.
Awesome.
So
very, very
check
good.
it out. You can go onto the website, Greener Homes Grant, NRCan. It's through the federal government. Make sure to click on the actual official government website link. Don't go to ads. Try to go to the website, the official government website link.
Great. And to build on what Kieran is saying, I've actually just put into the chat the City of Sault Ste. Marie on our website. We have a list of different incentive programs, which includes the Canada Greener Homes Grant, and it'll take you directly to that site if you click on that program. Okay, so we're going to go to some questions now, Kieran. There's one here. Once the energy audit is done, what sort of timeline is placed to complete the renos?
So 2 years. Basically, you got a long time. Your file can stay active for as long as the program's around, but obviously the government reserves the right to deactivate your file at any point if they don't think you're doing anything. But typically, like I said, you want to do some research, you want to get some quotes, you want to get your connection agreement in place prior, so that once I come, it's pretty much a done deal. You've got things in motion.
Excellent. Really great. So we have another question here. I think this has been answered. You've been talking about the Canada Greener Homes Loan Program. Exactly. So it is live. It's been launched. When did it launch, Kieran? What year?
The end of June 2021.
Yeah. So it's almost been around for a full year. And
almost a year, yeah.
From what I hear, uptake is extremely good.
Yes. And there's forgive me, Emily, there's one other program too that's around. Do you care?
Sure, go for it.
So it's through Enbridge. It's called the Home Energy Rebate Program. And you have to be an Enbridge customer to qualify. But it also incentivizes a whole slew of different things. And you can actually build off both programs. You can't double dip, but you can build off both programs and actually get 5,000 from one and 5,000 from the other.
Very cool. Very great. Lots out there to improve your home's energy efficiency, etc. Okay, so thank you so much, Kieran. Oh, I see there's one more question. The loan program or the grant program I thought they were different when the loan program is 40K interest-free loan through CMHC.
Yes, so that just came out and I was actually gonna try to interrupt you to talk about that. So it's 40, I don't know a ton of details about it, but it's through CMHC and it's $40,000. The money has to be directed towards energy retrofits. But yeah, it's a great way to fund some renovations. I mean, money's pretty cheap right now, so, but
Great. Well,
that might change.
This is good. This is a new program that
No,
launched?
it's with the Greener Homes
Oh,
grant.
it's with the Greener Homes grant.
It's kind of, it wasn't tandem. It was supposed to be launched when they launched the program, but
I see.
yeah, it's been slow to start.
I see.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kieran. We appreciate your expertise
Pleasure.
and your time this afternoon. Lots of information today, everyone. Again, thank you to our panelists for their time and their knowledge. I know it's a bit of an information overload, so I encourage everyone to, please reach out to me. I'm going to actually go and put my email in the chat here. If you have any questions, and I'll actually ask Christy if she can do the same, Christy and Tia, if you could please put your contact information in the chat if anyone has any questions to ask you directly. If you have any questions for our other panelists as well, feel free to reach out to me. Oh, I see there's another question. We're kind of getting tight on time. Oh, thank you. Well, we appreciate the thank you, Jamie. Much appreciated. So I'd like to just again thank our panelists for taking the time to speak to their expertise in the solar field. Many different components were discussed today, from how are they made, how are they used, how you can use them, etc. So this webinar will be recorded and we will post it on the city's website. Christy, Tia, lots of fast-paced moving parts today. I'd like to just turn this over to you two. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Really impressive to see the great work that Garden River First Nation is doing on your buildings.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining. We had such a great turnout. So it's amazing to see so many attendees joined for tonight, because it was very interesting and lots of information, which was great.
Thank you. Tia?
Yes, I agree, Christy. Great webinar. Emily, thank you so much. And thank you for all the information.
Excellent. Again, this information will be shared on the city's website. I'll give a plug here. Last year, Christy and I and Tia, we partnered on an energy efficiency literacy webinar series, and we hosted 4 webinars into the autumn, mainly on energy efficiency. And when you're thinking about emissions reduction, typically that's where you start, and then you start thinking about renewables. So I think we're progressing very well, and a big pillar of Christie's Indigenous Community Energy Plan at Garden River, as well as the city's greenhouse gas emissions reduction plan, is looking at energy efficiency as well as renewable energy to decrease our carbon footprint. If anyone is interested in learning more about the City of Sault Ste. Marie's greenhouse gas reduction plan, I encourage you to visit our website to check it out, and you can also reach out to me at any time. Thank you so much for your attention, everyone. This has been a great, fast-paced webinar. Again, the webinar will be recorded and it will be posted on the city's website. I wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you so much for your time.